Synth Network.
Hello, it's episode 66. That's mildly prophetic, given that it was 1966 when England last were in a final of a football tournament, and we're in another one. Well, half of me is the other half is of course there as well. It's the first time England did it. I just noticed that. I thought episode 66, 1966 and all that. Welcome. It's the Pro Synth Network show. We're live again. It's just gone 7 p.m. here in the UK, just gone 2 on the East Coast and 11 on the West. Wherever you are, welcome. Thanks for joining us. And we've got a great show lined up for you. Lots of little news topics, and we've got a great guest in the form of one Mr. Simon Glenister of Noise Solution. Welcome to everyone. Hi.
Hey, how you doing?
Very well.
Is it coming home or is it coming Rome?
Well, very true. That's good. Yes. Well, it's going to be one of those nights tonight, isn't it? Let's just go around the room and see. So let's go to our guest first. Simon, where do we find you this fine evening?
You find me in my home office, which I've become very, very familiar with.
Yes.
And that home office is about 20 miles down the road from you.
Correct.
In Suffolk, which for those of our international guests who aren't sure where that is in the UK, basically it's the bump. I'm in the middle of the bump.
It's a bit that looks like a fat arse, isn't it?
Yeah, essentially. Yeah.
Yeah. Lovely. Excellent. Nice kit you've got behind you there. We were... When you went out to get a drink, we were looking at what's he got there, and there's Matrix Brew, and there's a Korg MS-10.
20,
is that
mini,
20?
MS-20 Mini. Yeah. It's the Mini. Yeah,
it's the Mini, lovely, and a
nice
little
Eurorack.
This
is the sort of last year and a half's obsession.
Right.
So I resisted for years and years and years and years, and then fell headlong into the whole Eurorack thing.
Down.
Yeah, absolutely. Fell for it. Like everything they say is true.
I'm still resisting, and I think I still will continue to do so. But there you
bloody
go.
Great though.
Yes, so I hear. But lovely. Thanks ever so much for coming on.
Pleasure.
We're going to be talking to you a little bit later about your work with Noise Solution, which I think is an amazing thing, because it involves music technology and getting creativity out of young people, which is just a fantastic thing. So I'd love to talk to you about that and your use of technology. So we'll do that later. Let's now cross the ocean to California, to Cryss. Over there, I spy something over your left shoulder there, which looks rather familiar. You see what I did there?
Yeah, it is going to be one of those nights.
It's definitely going to be one of those nights. How are you enjoying the Essence FM Mark II?
Oh, it's fantastic. I love it. It sounds really good. Made a few patches on it, and so far all really positive.
So you'll be starting a new doorbell business, yeah?
Yeah.
Look, if I don't say it, somebody else will.
Yeah,
I
so
told,
now
like,
you've got...
What's that?
I was going to say, you've got the Cobalt Club and you've got the Essence FM Club now.
And you're a member of neither.
Totally left out.
Hurry up. But you two, Simon and Ben, Matrix Synth Club.
Yeah.
Not Matrix Synth, Matrix Brute.
So
you get so you get that.
You tempted by the poly, Ben?
Well, I am after getting the... I wasn't, and then I got a Matrix Brute, and I was thinking, poly version of this would be super.
It's fantastic for driving the modular.
Right.
12 CV in and out. Brilliant. Yeah,
there you go. Ben is contemplating the modular now.
I am. I, as soon as you said it was great before, that's all I needed.
Yeah.
You said it's great.
But that sequence, of driving the modular.
Yeah.
Yeah. Loads of fun.
I'm hoping that a Polybrute is going to arrive here in the next few weeks. They've promised me one.
Wow.
But unfortunately, because they are in sort of like short supply, and the models that they send out to us lollygiggers are quite rare. But yeah, they've promised me one, so we'll be able to compare notes.
I might do you a swap there. If I can get hold of a DX1 100, would you be interested?
I could probably find some doorbells.
Yeah, quite. Yeah, all right, go on, get them out. Ben, how are you? How are rehearsals?
Oh, we did a little.
Oh, you did a gig, didn't you?
We did a little gig, yeah.
How did it go?
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah, no,
No.
It was very terrifying. Things were going wrong, and Cubase wouldn't boot up.
Oh, dear.
It wouldn't even be. The song that I'd saved exactly as I wanted it wouldn't load up. It'd load other songs up, but not that one. So that was a whole nightmare in itself. And then we had to use like a Kawasaki Mule truck thing to get the gear to the stage. It was that far away. So we're there like riding along all this like mad like 4x4 territory to get to the stage. It was interesting. It went pretty well for the first gig. Yeah, but
that's good.
That's a horrible moment though, isn't it? When you're in charge of the laptop running the live show and you're on and your lights and headlights and it's not working.
Yeah, there's nothing you can do.
Do you have a second, like a redundancy option? So you can
I will have now. Yeah, I didn't
learned your lesson there.
I didn't think that I'd need it because I'd gone like 15 years previously with more or less, the equivalent
with the same laptop. That's probably why it failed.
Older equivalent. And never really had a problem, and then we get to our first gig with this band, and it was like,
oh dear.
Yeah.
I went to see Level 42. I've seen them a number of times. I went and saw them years and years ago, and this was when sort of like late 80s they were running, or Mike Lindup was running a couple of TX816s with a QX1 sequencer, to do all of his kind of rhythmic keyboard stuff, and then he would play the Prophet 5 and the Rhodes live and stuff. And so the QX1, which was back then, it was just like the workhorse, it just died and all the sequences went. And the thing is, because Level 42 are just basically 4 session guys, tight as nuns what's it, carried on, and nobody really knew until the end of the song. Mark King's laughing, he said, our sequence just died, and we're like, did it? We didn't know. It's very clever, but yeah, God, I only ever gigged with a sequencer for about 6 months. It was a Yamaha RM1X that I used, and we used it for like strings and pianos because we didn't have any string players or piano players in the band, so we used it for that and playing to a click track. And it was, thankfully never had a failure, but it was like every night we gigged, it was like, is this the night?
I get quite involved in sort of lots of local band competitions and stuff around Suffolk. And I'm constantly surprised how few upcoming early bands use any kind of sound reinforcement. I can think of like one or two over the last 10 years where I've seen them actually utilising that, whereas every band I've ever been in has been, very, very much. I'm a drummer, essentially. That's my main instrument, and love playing to a click because the guitarist can't tell me I'm slowing down. Brilliant. No, I think you'll find I'm not.
Isn't it? I always felt before I did it, I always felt that there was like an element of cheating, and I didn't want. There's a kind of authenticity thing that everything had to be done 100% live. And the minute you start relying on machines to do some of that stuff, then you kind of lose. That's how I felt. Then I did it, and I thought, my God, it adds so much to.
I think there's something in the language, isn't it? If you describe it as a backing track, then that's different to sound reinforcement.
Yeah.
But the same thing.
I like that term. I like that term. Is that the official? Is that the industry term? Sound reinforcement.
It is now.
We make it. Yeah, it's going to be a thing. Right. Okay. So before we move on to some of the news topics, because there's been some interesting ones, I just want to welcome everybody that is watching today. If you're new to the show, where have you been? But welcome, and do hit that subscribe button. Do also hit the like video if you do feel like you like what we do. That always helps. Please do subscribe and hit the bell, and you'll get a notification every time we're on, which is generally every Friday. We do some other bits in between, so make sure you do that. That would be really, really helpful. Of course, if you want to follow us outside of the show, then probably most of you already know that we are on Facebook with the Pro Synth Network group, so you can join us there, and we're adding new members every day. We've also got presence on Instagram and Twitter, as most good places should, and of course you're watching us on YouTube. If you want to get in touch with us, of course, you can email us, info@prosynthnetwork.com. And we do have our own Facebook page for the show itself. So if all you don't want to involve yourself with all the chit-chat that goes on in the group, I mean, why you wouldn't, I don't know. But if all you're interested in the show, that's the page there, Pro Synth Network Show. And it means you can also share content from there as well. So every time we put links up to the show or any features or anything, you can share those. Whereas, unfortunately, with the other Facebook group, that's not possible. So you can do that there. And, of course...
Hey, one quick
go ahead.
Announcement. Tomorrow, whatever time... it's very early in the morning for me, but Randy's going to be having our Adamski in the chat. He's going to be having Adam on talking about his home-built synthesizers. That's going to be really cool. Not sure I'll make it up in time to see it live, but that'll be a replay for sure. Should be a really good show.
It's usually he starts the pre-show about 1:45, and then it goes live about 2 p.m. I think UK time. So yeah, that'll be interesting. Yeah. And, of course, if you want to help keep us on the air, then please do. And thank you to everyone that has set up regular subscriptions, donations to us. That really means a lot because you clearly believe in us, and that's nice. But the link is in the description underneath the video. It's there on the screen as well. Cutley/PSN-donate. Anything that you donate to us goes straight into the fund to keep this whole thing, everything that you see on screen here, going every week. So you keep us on the road, and we greatly appreciate that. And there you go. That's all the housekeeping stuff out of the way. Now, what I should have done was set up the first news topic, so I didn't have to go through all this. But now I'm going to have to go and find the first news topic, which is a new drum machine. I'm kind of getting back into my drum machines. I've been buying a few old ones, but this is a brand new one from Erica Synths, and it is called the LXR02, fully fledged digital drum machine with an integrated sequencer. It's a nice little black box. Let's just have a look at the video here. Underworldy, that, isn't it? I think we get the general idea then. We're not going to sit through a 17-minute video. There we go. We'll get that off there. So nice little new drum machine. It's a collaboration between Sonic Potions and Erica Synths. Fully digital with an integrated sequencer. The sound engine provides 6 different instruments, each with over 30 parameters to tweak, producing sounds from classic analog emulations to crunchy digital mayhem, thus offering some of the most extensive sound design capabilities found on a drum synthesizer. Nice little thing. Any who wants to go first on this one? Any thoughts?
I'd just say that it's refreshing that it sounds so different. It has got a unit. It's not trying to emulate like an 808 or a 909. Everything seems to be doing this. It's just got its own. I'm here. This is what I do, and it does it well. So I've always struggled with drum machines. I've never found one that I actually get on well with. The nearest I've ever come to being happy with a drum machine is probably battery, because I can never really get out of a drum machine what I want. And I've had some of the really good ones. I've had I had that Electron Analog Rhythm. I've had the what's that Roland one, the human drum.
R8.
All right, yeah. I mean, I had that, and I didn't even get on with that, really. I ended up with the module of it because I couldn't get into the programming side of it as fluently as I could with a DAW. So something like this might interest me because it is so different. It can be melodic as well, can't it? You know, obviously from that demo. So it'd probably be inspiring to use it and not just regenerating all the same old stuff over and over. I like it for that, and I would be interested in it for that.
It's not a bad little price either, 490. It's kind of teetering on the edge of, if it was more than that, I'd start thinking, but for what it is, 490. Simon, I think I know the answer to this because you're a drummer first and foremost, as I am. You're way better than me, but do you?
It's subjective, Robbie.
Well, true, but hey, I think we had a drum off. I would be last, but as a drum, I mean, I always embraced drum machines. I didn't shun them, and I guess you're the same.
Yeah. I mean, when as we were discussing earlier, when I've been playing live, I've been playing to loops and drums and electronic stuff, and I absolutely agree with you. I'm totally over 808 and 909 emulations. And when you sent me the link, I kind of opened it up to have a look, and my first reaction was, drum machine. How am I going to get excited about a drum machine? But then I looked at the comments, and the love in the YouTube comments for this was astonishing. I thought, like, people were really excited about it, and I think I can see that there's something around the performative, interactive nature of it with the sliders, which you don't see very often. And I think that's probably really, really cool. And I can see how you get excited about that. And and I like the fact that it's not an emulation of something else. So I think it's pretty cool. I think 500 quid is quite steep. But for what it is. But I like the company as well, obviously, because I'm sort of into the modular stuff. So I would be intrigued to play with it, definitely.
Yeah, I think that's probably got where a lot of the love comes from it, because Erica Synths have a really loyal following, and they've made some great stuff, so it's instantly going to go there. I was just trying to see the rear of the machine. Here we go. Let me just throw this up on screen.
Has it got any CV?
It's quite a dark picture. I don't know how well that's coming through on your screens, but it has got clock in, clock out. I can't see what that one is. It's got an SD card slot. It's got a USB. It's got 5-pin MIDI in and out, and then it's got 2 pairs of audio outs and the headphones. But
it looks like reset.
Oh yeah, it says reset. It's RST in. Whatever that might be, a reset could be. But one of the big things that a lot of people criticise, certainly some of these modern, more small, compact drum machines, is that it doesn't have a whole set of individual outs, and that would be my only, gripe about this. It would be nice to be able to send individual outs, but to me this feels more like a groove box than a drum machine, and I think there is a distinct difference between the two, maybe, but. Christopher, what do you think?
It sounds great. The price is too steep for me. Now, mind you, I don't have a huge setup for doing tabletop stuff, so I'm probably not the market for drum machine makers. I like kind of both worlds of it. I love seeing the the old stuff coming out, and I wasn't into purely electronic music for a long time, so my time's all been with human drummers, so it's kind of a fun new world. I wouldn't say new. I've been using drum machine stuff for a long time, but kind of those classic sounds are still probably more fresh to me than a lot of electronic musicians. So I love that old stuff, but then hearing some new things and some new creative ideas, I think is really fantastic as well. This seems like it's going to make a lot of people happy, and Simon said the Erica Synths make great stuff. I've got a couple of their Eurorack modules and have been very happy with them. Mm-hmm. So I imagine this should be a good seller for them. Again, the pricing is seems a little bit high, but seems with any of their stuff that goes above the Eurorack kind of level things, they seem like they're a little bit high. But
sure,
if they can sell them for that, great.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, looking at the specs, 6 voice, 30 adjustable parameters per voice volume sliders, insert effects, 4 assignable outputs, 2 stereo or 4 mono. So I guess that kind of it's like a halfway house, isn't it, with that? Full size MIDI in and out with USB MIDI as well, SD card for easy firmware updates and project backup. Doesn't say anything about triggering sounds from there. I guess it's all internal, isn't it? Performance modes with mutes, rolls, master bit crush, and kit morphing. Kit morphing sounds quite interesting. 64-step sequencer, headphones, and extensive MIDI implementation, all housed in a durable and compact aluminium casing for €490. That's ex sales tax plus 21% for individual customers within the EU. So that's going to be that starts actually pushing it kind of beyond, doesn't it, a bit? But you did get a 2-year warranty on that, if that's any consolation.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, it's
so
not bad.
Question for you guys, as far as drum machine use and these products. So most of the time I'm on the computer in Logic. So whatever I do with drums, like a lot of Easy Drummer, the thing that I'm kind of keeping an eye out for is XLN XO, which kind of grabs all of your drum samples on wherever you have them on your computer and then makes an interface for you to find them. I think that's quite an interesting idea, but we're talking stuff on the computer. Now with more physical drum machines, obviously they have the place in people that like to, in real time, and maybe this is where things like the 808 and 909 have been really successful because you can sit and move knobs and change sounds as you're working on something. I could never do that while playing guitar, so it wasn't a feature that I ever used. But the question is, now with iOS, products, like, is this something that has as much of value when you can grab something that does, really exceptionally complex drum machine stuff or classic drum machine things on an iPad that you can physically touch and move stuff, but you're talking, $5, $10, $20, $30 rather than 500 pounds?
I don't know.
It's that age-old discussion, though, isn't it? It's that physicality and having the tactile touch, and rather than working it from an iPad or from a mouse. And it's that inspirational stuff, isn't it? Those happy accidents that happen when you're interacting with stuff. It's priceless.
Yeah,
it's a great question though, because if say like Behringer's bringing out this LM drum thing, and I'm really interested in that. If somebody brought out a Lindrum replica on an iPad for 30 quid or whatever, it's like really not sure which way to go there at all. Because I like the the physicality of the machine, and I'd like to have it here and use it. But if I'm getting everything else in the app, and it sounds just as good, I don't know.
I think there's something about the when you have a physical thing, there's less concern about it becoming outdated through firmwares or software updates. Well, the app stuff, you every now and then you flip through and you go, oh god, I haven't used that for like 10 years.
Or you get that dreaded message that pops up, as I've been getting just recently. This app needs to be updated by the developer. Do you want to keep it or delete it?
Yeah.
Well, if the developer's not doing anything with it, then I don't want it. But I think physical drum machine or iPad drum machine, the physical wins out every time because of the tactile nature and of being able to grab things. And I've got MPCs, and I've had the MPC on the iPad, and it's just not the same. It just isn't the same. You've got all the sounds, you've got all the functionality, but you're not banging rubber pads for all that So there's.
I do agree with that, because I've got those MPC apps as well, and I don't think I've ever used them. Had a quick 5 minutes on them, and then they're just discarded. Really,
some of them are clever because they use the accelerometer within the iPad to give you velocity, which is nice, but it's not the same as hitting something. And I guess maybe that's just the drummer in me that just wants to hit things. But yeah, I just no. I think given the option, hardware every time. Although give me the hardware, but with a software interface that I can use for patch storage and sample loading and that kind of thing, and even remotely trigger. Yeah, fine, but not for me. That anyway. Good question. So there you go. That's the Erica Synths LXR02. So ericasynths.lv. Are they Latvian then? Is that what it is? Did they come from Latvia? Erica Synths.
Don't know.
LV. I just
How do you feel about the four outputs? Do you think that's enough? Or
well, on a unit this size, it's difficult to put. Well, I mean, it's a 6-voice drum machine, and they've given you 4-voice output, 4 mono voices or 2 stereo. So could they have squeezed 2 more just to give you that separation?
It depends what configurations you can have. It says that you can have like 2 stereo or 4 mono, but can you have like 2 mono and a stereo? Because if you could have the kick coming out of one, the snare out the other, and then all your others summed into a stereo bunch, that'd be okay.
Yeah.
But I think obviously you need to tweak it, have a look at how you tweak it, but it's got main output left and right, and then output 2 left and right. So I guess you could, as long as in the software, it could say yes, stereo 1 and 2, and then output 2 left and right. Just pick and choose. So yeah.
It's just if you're out playing live, I don't think those outputs are really that necessary for it. I think that'd be more of a recording thing. Yeah. And if you're just spending time recording, do you need the hardware drums? It seems like these types of products tend to cater more towards live jam musicians. Whether that's just for YouTube in a bedroom or if it's out gigging, that's where it seems like these things would be used more. Yeah,
definitely, yeah.
Because even though this is hardware, this is not where I would want to go to really create a lot of drum stuff. I'd rather be able to see a big display and have it all out. But again, that's coming from me, and I'm not the average, electronic musician.
I think you're right. This is a drum synth, as that's what it's called, rather than a drum machine where you would expect to have, multiple outputs. Mark Acker in the chat room has just pointed out that they're based in Riga in Latvia, although just to make sure he did spell it correctly later on. So yeah, are Latvian. Great. I'd love to see all these companies popping up in countries that you just wouldn't expect. That's 21st century synthesis for you.
Erica Synths also kind of one thing that I like about them is that they do love the classics, and so like I've got a Polyvox filter from them, but then they're also doing some innovation as well and doing new products. So they've got the spread covered, and I like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, let's move on to another thing. We spoke about this one some while back, and now it seems to have popped up again into our consciousness. This reported by our friends over at Synthtopia. This is the let's get this, the PikoPiko Pro Free, as it's called now, because they're cloning a Prophet 5. Let me just bring this up on the screen. There we go. And we spoke about this. This Prophet Mini, it was originally called. They've now called it the Pro Free 4, and they've announced it to be open source. So I guess that means, I don't know, how does open source in hardware, does that just mean that all the designs and the schematics and everything, that you can make your own circuit boards from the open source stuff? I don't know. But yeah, it's all, they've got a Patreon page where you can go and subscribe, and but it's an interesting thing. So let me just play you this little video, because it has some sound in it. Excuse the vertical video nature of this. That was them, not me. Have we got any sound coming out of there? There we go. Yeah. It's not the best demo in the world, but it's making sounds, which is good. Hardly makes you want to rush out and buy one. But we've had the Prophet 5 is an instrument that's being cloned in software, and of course we've got the new Rev 4 hardware version, which everyone that has got one, you lucky sods, tells me that it's really, really good. Our resident synth tech Kent has been taking in more profits to repair, and some of the stories he's been telling me about the condition they're coming in is just crazy. But there's still a big love for the Prophet sound. Does this appeal to anybody on any level, though? It seems a bit... What do you think, Cryss?
Yeah, I mean, the sound demo, they're going to have to work on that. It sounds pretty bad. Kent's in the chat. Maybe he'd have more to say about it, but it sounds like something, what I had said on the chat earlier this week, it sounds like something's badly misbiased in there, because you're getting some weird artifact stuff happening there, and it just sounds kind of nasty. Doesn't have quite the sound that you would expect from a Prophet. So
yeah,
cool project though. I mean, it's neat to see do-it-yourself communities come together. I was looking at some other DIY stuff going on, and then in the past, like when I was doing a lot more electronics work, I was involved in some communities that did guitar pedals and amps and things like that. And there's so much information that is accessible because of the internet now. And you're not just accessing static information on the internet. You're being able to talk to other people who have built the project, or other people that are a lot farther in their electronic ability than you, or you're able to help out. And so it's kind of a cool thing. So I hopefully they'll get something together, at least with this project, that sounds a little more like a Prophet.
Yeah, and apparently it is only monophonic at the moment, according to their Patreon page. Breaking news, sound is now available from Pro Free, in brackets, still monophonic. Yeah, I mean, that was a Pro 1, surely. So, I don't know.
Yeah,
what,
I would have left the sound demo off.
Yeah.
So it was a bit all close.
Well, I think it's admirable that there's these things are happening, but they're maybe happening not at a particularly good rate. What do you think, Simon?
I'm kind of aspirational. I love this idea that you could actually get breadboards together and circuit boards and build stuff. Unfortunately, I would be appallingly bad at it, and it would just be a really, really expensive error brick thing that's sat in the corner. I'd love to be able to do it. Like, my mum was a cabinet maker, right? And the gene just skipped me by. Just can't do it. So yeah, I would love to be able to. I think it's interesting. I mean, I loathe to bring this up because I'm sure you've done it to death. But a company cloning something
yes.
whose name shall remain nameless, and then making it open source.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. How do people feel about that?
That's a good point.
I personally don't have a problem with it, but
no.
That's another thing. I think there are other areas where some other companies are doing some other things that I do have a problem with, but
yes,
that's a whole different thing.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. They're clearly they're building this from the ground up. They're not a big company at all. They have aspirations, and they're now making this this stuff open source. It's got to be admired. I was just bringing up their Patreon page here. You can support them from £8 a month. It's for £8 a month. You can read articles for members. You'll also receive a video once a month. If it's anything like that video we just saw,
I'd pay £8 not to get that video.
Yeah, there's that. But I mean, it's admirable, and there's stuff on there, and there's explanation of the latest prototypes on there. So it's interesting, and I wish them all the luck in the world. But let's come back to them maybe in a year's time or something like that, and see where they are. Oh, Ben, any other thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting project. I'm not sure how the open source thing will work. I don't really know what that means. Is everybody free just to add their own bits to it, and you'll end up with the Kent Spong version that sounds like a 8 voice as well, a flick of a switch. I don't know, but it's not for me because I've already got like the Prophet 6, and I've got like a really good emulation from is it the Repro 5? That is it?
Oh, the Yuhi.
That's amazing. It's like really good. And so I don't really need anything else. But good luck to them. I think it's a great project, and it gives that. Hopefully, anyway, if they can get past the point they're at now, it'll give people that profit sound at, I presume, like a much more affordable price.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah,
so
well
if you want to subscribe to their Patreon page, it's patreon.com PikoPikoF. I guess F for 3 or 4 or whatever. But yeah, PikoPikoF. And yeah, if you want to subscribe, please do. Right, let's do this one. Now, I'm going to have to plead complete ignorance because I have never, ever, ever even experienced or trialed Digital Performer from MOTU. But they have just released DP11, which is the new update. Loads of great stuff apparently added to it. New features like nano sampler, retrospective audio record, don't know what that is, articulation maps, and of course MPE support. But yeah, I mean, those that use it absolutely swear by it. And I think I know a lot of people in the I suppose it's the theatre industry. They use it a lot in that because I think it has a lot of good ways of working with other things like lighting and sound and that all that kind of stuff. Yeah. I think I might be completely wrong there, but yeah, it has a very loyal following, but it always seems to be not the first. If people talk about sequencers, they'll talk about Logic, they'll talk about Cubase, they'll talk about Reaper, they'll talk about Studio One or Pro Tools, and then DP is like all it's just kind of like the poor relation, and yet those that use it consistently will swear by it and never move off it. Has anyone, hands up, anyone that's used digital? Yeah, Simon.
Hey.
Very long time ago. My journey was in terms of DAW was Logic first as a drum brain for an electronic kit. That's how I got into all of this. Mm-hmm. And then I kind of got obsessed with all of them and sort of tried everything. And at one point I did try DP. I kind of got the impression that it was quite popular in America more than Europe. And it was great. But I mean, the more I do this, the more I've done this, they're all the same. Yeah, they all do the same thing. And I think what's interesting about it is the emotions and the tribal element that people bring to the software that they've owned and they use and they defend like really fiercely. And that's fine. That's cool. But really, let's be honest. Apart from Ableton, which has a different workflow. That is less linear than a lot of these. They pretty much do the same thing, really, in a general terms. And it's not the thing when I'm working with kids who start to obsess about the gear rather than the ideas. Yeah. Then it's you try and tell them that it's much more about what you do with it than what it actually is. Than the brand. Important.
It's funny you should mention Ableton because DP11 has now got this. That. Yeah. And Logic did the same in their last update, and so everyone's kind of. But this looks very Ableton Live, with these clips, and then working with the grids and everything. It's incredibly similar in many ways, but I mean, it's horses for courses and. I was Reason for a very long time and then moved to Logic because people were asking me for stuff and they wanted it in Logic project files, and so I just had no choice but to move. And I'm glad I did. I really enjoy Logic now, but I actually enjoy using them both together. If somebody then said to me, "Oh, you're going to have to go to Digital Performer," I was like, another one?
My project over lockdown was to learn Ableton.
Right, yeah.
Because they've started helping us out with licenses.
Oh, cool.
For the kids that we work with, which is great. But I remember the jolt from when I set up Noise Solution, the jolt from moving from being a 10-year Logic user to learning Reaper, because that was available for the kids to download without them having to buy it. Essentially, they could trial it for free. And learning a new DAW when you are so comfortable and you know what you want to do and it's almost instinctive, and that jolt when you're suddenly at sea and you know what you want to do and you know it can be done, but you just don't know how to do it. It can be quite painful.
I've often wondered whether I'm not getting the fuss about Ableton and keep thinking, maybe I should just get it and.
I'm loving it now.
Yeah.
It's taken me a long time. I tried it about 4 or 5 years ago and just couldn't get to grips with it because I was so used to the linear thing.
Yeah.
But I'm loving it now. I'm really, and especially with modular. It's brilliant for modular.
Right. Yeah,
you can use CV within it as well. It's great. Yeah,
that's good. Cool.
Yeah.
Chris, Ben, I can't remember if either of you have spoken about this yet, but anyone want
was
to?
Digital Performer out in the mid-90s?
Yeah, it's been around a long while.
Okay. Then I think I actually have used it. I was doing some coursework, and I think that was the DAW that we used.
All right.
But, I mean, do you think it's changed in 25 years?
I guess it must have done.
Not as much as
so
you might think.
other than that, but I liked what Simon was saying, and we were having some conversations and this week in the Facebook group, and the tribalism is kind of an odd thing, and actually on some of Mark's videos, Mark's in the chat had made mention of it too. It's like I don't need to defend any companies, or they can do that for themselves. I had one of my best friends gotten into recording, and he was using Logic mainly because I was using Logic and I can help him with it. And then because of his hardware, he switched over to Luna. And I have to admit, I was kind of bummed about it. I was like, why you want to go to that? That's it's a very new DAW, and you won't get the help. We can't share projects, easily as before. But, at the end of the day, it is just as Simon says, what do you do with it? What's going to work for you? If Logic works for you, great. If, Ableton works for you, great. Just make good music and be happy about it. And we don't have to tear other people down because they don't use our DAW. I don't care if my neighbor uses Pro Tools, good for him.
Yeah.
Whatever.
But it's like any
fool.
It's like any craft, isn't it? A carpenter, carpenters don't all use the same brand of saw. Electricians don't use the same brand of tools, whatever. I've been asked many times in the past, what do you recommend? And I'm like, well, all of them, because one of them will fit. So go and try them all, because most of them have got a demo. I think even Cubase now, I think you can, or I might be making it up, but pretty much every DAW out there has got a free demo, 30 days, or something that you could get a light version.
Trial,
or you could get the light version and test it. And when you find the one that fits the way your brain works, go with it. And
or aesthetics as well.
Yeah, fair in Love and DAW.
God.
Right, unless you're using Fruity Loops, and then you've got to draw the line there. I can't do Fruity Loops.
No, I looked at that many years
ago.
But
if you think about
kids we work with love Fruity Loops.
And that's the thing. My brother-in-law, I guess, I found out about it after the fact. But he was wanting to make EDM music, and so I don't remember if it was Fruity Loops or what it was, but he was using software on his computer, loop-based music making. He's not a musician, and he was having fun putting together these DAW tracks and showing them, or EDM tracks, and showing to his coworkers. And it was something fun for him to do, and I'm just, what made me sad is I didn't find out till after he had stopped doing it. I was like, well, I could have helped you out with some stuff, or kept him going with it. But I think it's still a very legitimate way to start. I mean, I think it's a tool. It's a tool.
Yeah, I tell you, the drum machine. You talked about drum machines earlier. The drum machine integration in Fruity Loops is amazing. It's super intuitive. It's brilliant. Really good.
I think they all bring something to the game, and depending on the way your brain works, the type of music you're making, there's a tool there that will support that, and that's great. The fact that there are all these different options out there.
I will say something about it though. It's I was watching all the videos before, and I've never used Digital Performer ever. But I was watching the videos, and I was thinking, I can see why they do, because I ended up watching older videos. I wasn't sure how old they were at first, but I was watching them, and some of the things that you could do in these videos were recent additions to Cubase, you know, like in 10.5 and in 11. I was thinking, oh God, that's like Very audio. That's exactly the same as Very. Oh, you got more control there, though. I thought, but I can understand why they've refreshed the graphics. They were looking well dated. And when I glanced, the operating system was well dated as well. And I think we were going back a good few years on this video, and all this technology that is new in other DAWs was, you know, an early presence in DP, because it was exactly the same functionality. You could do everything. You could stretch audio. You could alter the pitch by dragging the notes about, just like you can with MIDI. This was like, it was a really early version of Mac OS X. You could
that retrospective record facility that they're shouting about, that came out in like Logic 7, right?
Yeah, it did.
So swings and roundabouts, right?
They're all taking little bits from each other, aren't they? As we can see with the live elements that's been included in every DAW now.
Yeah.
So Cubase is late cottoning onto that one.
All great art is theft.
Indeed. Who said that? It's funny we're talking about this, and somebody in the chat room.
I did. I said that.
Did you? Yeah.
But you heard me saying it. That's the only reason. You said it.
That's it. It was actually Adamski who said, "What was that DAW stroke tracker I posted the other day in the Facebook group?" This is amazing, right? So, long story short, in 1995, I was working at a company that used to reward its staff by giving it shares in the company, and you could either buy them and keep them and then do whatever you want with them later, or you could buy and sell them on the same day and keep the profit. And they'd sell them to you at a really knockdown price, and so you'd always get maybe £500-600, and this was like mid-90s. And up until that point, I hadn't been able to afford to buy a computer with, you know, a synthesizer and a keyboard and MIDI and all of that, and that's what I wanted to do. So I went out and bought a Roland Sound Canvas, an Evolution 49 key controller, which came with its own free software, sequencing software. And I'm just going to call this up here, see if this will work mid-show, because this will be embarrassing if it doesn't. But I've been longing to find the software again, just, you know, for nostalgia's sake. And I found the disc. I went through all of my 3.5-inch floppy disks, and I found it. And it's this. Oh, and this was Evolution Audio. I mean, this was 96, actually, I bought this. Evolution Audio. You could put audio in here. You couldn't sequence it, or you couldn't record, so you had to just like drop a WAV file in. But if you managed to edit it fine, you could actually put in, like, you know, sample beats or something on, you know, on the bar and stuff. And it had like 256 tracks of MIDI. It had its own built-in little sound canvas, or not sound canvas, general MIDI type engine. And I found it, and I got a VM on my Mac here, and I booted it up, and I was just like, you know, I was all made up. I was getting all emotional. It was really quite nice.
Did you tear? Did you tear?
A little bit, yeah. Got a little bit moist. But it was, and Chris said, you know what, you should do something again with that. And then my next job, I went and actually found a whole bunch of projects that I'd done with this and recorded in the 90s.
Nice.
And I looked on the floppy disk, and there's something like 30 odd MIDI files on there that I'd saved, and it just drove home how prolific I was when I had one synthesizer and a cheap computer, and now I've got all of this shit, and I do just, it's crazy. But yeah, I mean, I think what I might do is, I've got the sound canvas over there. I'm waiting to buy some racks, and I'm going to pull that out, and I'm going to plug it in, and I'm just going to try and see if I can recreate the rubbish that I was making in 96, because I did play some of them back, and they were truly awful. Very, very dated. But there you go. Good fun.
But isn't that fun, though, to hear, like, I mean, if you heard something and it sounded contemporary, you'd be like, oh, that's a good song. But then you go back and play something old of yours, and it's very dated. You're like, oh, my gosh.
The other day, I found on the internet a flexi disc that I recorded in 1989.
Oh, wow.
90? Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah.
No, I played one track, and it was like it was using the 808 kit in the sound canvas, which was pretty much all samples anyway. It kind of sounded authentic, but it was just like boom, 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 because it was 96.
Yeah.
And then I found some really awful drum and bass attempts where I was using twiddly bits, MIDI files, and then just speeding them up to like 200 BPM. It was great. Lots of machine gun snares and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, anyway. So that was Evolution Audio from Evolution, which then got bought up by M Audio, I think, and then just retired the whole thing. But yeah, there you go. Right, let's do one more news topic, and then we're going to come to Simon and talk to him about what he does, because it's very interesting. And we'll kill two birds with one stone here. It seems like the last couple of weeks we've been mentioning that company that Simon was referring to earlier. So they've released a couple of items. The first one we'll mention here is this one, which is just kind of like... this is what I thought they were going to do with the Mark II RD8. I thought they were going to put an 808 into a Eurorack module. What they've done is they've taken the VCO from their 2600 and put that into... a Eurorack module.
Classic 2600 oscillator in a Eurorack.
Turn the volume up.
Introducing the Behringer 2600 VCO. The 2600 VCO is an authentic reproduction of the original 1970 circuitry, carefully fitted into a 16 HP module. The VCO features 4 simultaneous waveforms including sine, triangle, saw and pulse, all of which offer a wide frequency control from 10 Hz to 10 kHz, or 0.03 Hz to 30 Hz in LF mode.
So there you go. It's a 2600 VCO in a Eurorack format. I'm going to go to our first Eurorack. We've got 2 Eurorack experts in the room. Simon, would this be something that interests you?
So I've got the 100M stuff, and I love it.
Yeah.
I think it's brilliant. And in terms of... think that whole Behringer thing and shouldn't they, I think bringing back those old synths is amazing, and to make it affordable for people to get over that hurdle of being able to access Eurorack, also amazing. So on that side of the argument, I'm very pro. I saw this and I thought, that's a lot of HP for 4 fairly standard waveforms. So within the same HP, you've got 2 oscillators for the 100M.
Yeah.
So you've doubled it. And so it seemed a bit... I wasn't that... I'm not going to be buying it, I think, is what I'm saying. However, I am very interested in the ARP 2500, because you can switch and there are sort of 6 waveforms, I think, 5 or 6 waveforms, and you can switch them and blend them as well. And that looks really interesting and worthwhile having. But this one, I was a bit... too much HP for not enough bang for me, I'm afraid.
Fair enough. No, good point. Chris, you're our other Eurorack guy. Will this be joining your collection?
Probably not, but I think it's good that they're doing it, because it gives some of the modules, especially if you're looking for certain tonal elements, like I want those art VCOs or that, and combine it with Oberheim filter with the VCA of a Moog or whatever. That can be kind of fun to patch together your own mono synth with combined elements from different brands and sounds. That can be pretty fun. I was kind of thinking the same thing, though, in that like a lot of the Behringer models are a little bit big. They're 2500 modules. I had thought about getting a couple of those, but they are kind of... I don't have much Eurorack space. I mean, what you see there, and then I have the Waldorf KB37, and that's it. So space considerations. I mean, I would buy something more if I thought I was going to use it a lot. And then
do you have that niggling? You have that niggling feeling that I experienced with this Behringer stuff, that you think you want to buy just to be completist about it, and you want to buy a rack just to make a 2500 or to make a 100M.
Isn't that the whole essence of Eurorack?
Yeah, and price wise, it would be better just to buy their 2600. That would give you everything for probably a lot less money than building it, and also and less HP, although that of course won't go into a Eurorack and sit next to it. But Yeah, for me, do I get to? Can I be snobby?
Go for it.
I have an original 2600, so I didn't.
Well, there we go. Max said that in the chat room. Why would you want the VCO when you've got the real bloody thing? Yes, quite.
Hey, but you know what?
Because it works.
Yeah.
That's great. But
Sorry.
but seriously,
Sorry.
I think they're great. I mean, I wouldn't have bought an original 2600 if I wasn't able to get the deal and trade for it the way that I did. And I would probably have bought the Behringer one, just the full 2600, the Gray Mini.
Yeah.
Is what I would have done. And I would have been great. And I would be happy with that. And it's got some great features. So I'm not one of those people that if I get something that's expensive or, original, that I've got to be snobbish about it. It's like, I'm great if other people can enjoy that sound for less money too. Fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. Benjamin. Nah,
I don't know.
yeah.
I like the idea of being able to, if they did it with everything that they do, to have the I don't know, the what's their MS-20 called? If you could have that filter with, I don't know, the Pro One oscillators, or just to be able to mix all the things that they've got. That is a really interesting prospect, but at the minute I'm not really at that point where I'm even trying any of it.
Yeah.
I think I would be interested in the System 100. I think that's
the only one that's kind of made me go. And then
it's lovely.
Yeah, I think I am interested in that, and I was interested in these bundles that they've started doing. But
the System 15.
Yeah, it's like the one I want's like $3,500.
$3,500.
Well get something proper.
Well, yeah, quite.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. No, I'm with you on that one. So I'm sorry. I'd still just don't get Eurorack. I don't see the appeal, but I can see why other people might like it, and that's fine. I don't.
It's very big of you, Rob.
Yes. Yeah. I don't hold a grudge. I don't hold a grudge. I've just got too many bells going on in the background. The other thing that they announced today, which we must talk about, is this. The TD-3 MO, which is the modded out edition. I think they initially refer to this as the murdered out. Oh, look at the hair!
TD-3.
His hair just gets bigger every video.
Hate him.
So let me just pause that there because it does that and it moves to a different shot. So yeah, that's a fairly clean shot of the TD-3 MO, which is this new modded out version of their TD-3, and essentially. Whilst there are a couple of other modifications on this is the kind of the Devilfish mod that there was a big kerfuffle about this a year or so ago when is it Robin Whittle, I think that's his name, who came up with the Devilfish mod, said something, that he'd been approached and he'd turned them down, but there was nothing that he could do to stop them, blah blah blah. And then Uli piped up on Gear Space. Is that what it's called now?
Yeah.
The PC name Gear Space. And he said, actually, here are the emails. I would have rather have kept this confidential, but seeing as I've been outed, here are the emails. And Robin was asking for like $303,000 US, which I thought was quite amusing, which kind of told me that he was just like throwing a big number out there, knowing it wouldn't get accepted. And it did seem like Behringer had done the right thing. They'd approached this person and said, we'd like you to work with us, and here are the terms we'd like you to work with us on. They disagreed and kind of got a bit antsy about it, and it just kind of went all the way. And then it went quiet, and now we have this thing. And I've listened to some of the demos, and I'm not 100% sure it brings a huge amount to the 303 sound, which has been done to death. I've got a TD-3 and it's fun, but it just sits in the corner most of the time. I was saying to Cryss before we started the show, they've got this sub-oscillator feature on there, which is this little red button just down here on the left-hand side. So you can invoke this sub-oscillator, and then there's a low, mid, and high level switch above it. I couldn't hear anything. I just honestly, I don't know whether it's my hearing or whether it was YouTube. I could not hear a difference at all. I know that some of this stuff, has got some more connections at the top there for hooking up to Eurorack. Some of this, it's got slide times and filter FM. Even that doesn't float my boat. I don't know. It's $200 for one of these. It's a 303 on acid. Haha, get what I did there. I don't know. What do you guys think, Ben? Are you you don't have one of the originals, do you?
I don't have one of these. No, I did use the original TD-3 back in the day.
Look at you.
Yeah, I'm old enough.
Yeah,
I'm old enough to attempt to make it sound like a bass guitar when it was new.
Yes.
And I think this looks really good. I like it. I think it looks great. The mods are going to be interesting. I presume that FM is something similar to the FM mod that's on the MS1. You know, and that's quite useful. That
it is. Yeah,
you can get some like really gritty noises out of it. So yeah, out of the ones that's on offer at the minute, that would be the one that interested me the most. But like yourself, Robert, I don't know if there's any space for it in what I do. There's definitely not much call for it in the recreating the songs, unless you're doing Orange Juice. But
or Heaven 17, yeah.
Because
that was the first patch I programmed when I got my TD-3. Was I did Rip It Up. I did the bass line from that on there, and which is quite simple to do. Yeah. But to have it coming out like it was, I enjoy that, and then you get bored of it and it goes back on the shelf. But
yeah, it'd be nice to fit it into your own style, so it didn't sound like you just bunged a bit of acid into your music. It was actually like offering something to the track.
But it's a very unique sound. It's a very niche sound, isn't it? And it's tired, I suppose. Simon, are you a 303 freak? No. Okay.
No.
Moving on. But no, I don't know. I know a lot of the kids these days kind of into the, the thing is, I remember in the 90s there was like all of these 303 clones. There was the Freebase. There was the XOXO. There's lots of different 303 clones. Back when you could clone something and nobody would bat an eyelid. But this sound was, big in the 90s, and then, acid house kind of died and it went away, and now it seems to have kind of enjoyed a bit of a resurgence. But do you find that any of the people that you work with are sort of predisposed to this kind of sound at all?
Occasionally, yeah. I mean, people talk about that sound, and we'll find out and work out what that sound is. There are so many options with it, though. There's so much out there. Different bits of kit. Just like another one, really. Yeah. I just find it a bit tired and exciting.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. I was getting 303 type sounds out of the Uno synth. And that was cheaper than is cheaper than this now, and a bit more versatile as well. It didn't sound just like a 303. It could do other things.
I think the V Synth GT's got a 303 filter in it as well.
Okay, yeah.
Realised, so I probably don't even need it if I did.
And of course, nowadays, nowadays, if you're a Rowan Cloud subscriber, you can get a software version of it, which a lot people would find more convenient. Yeah. Cryss, 303, yes or no?
I like the sound. I think it's fun, and if you do the extreme acid stuff, that's fun. And if you use it to do something else, I find that kind of interesting when people use it outside of an acid context. So I same as you, I have the little yellow Behringer one, and it's fun. I need to finish a song with it, I suppose. But I was listening to the sound clips of this, and it does sound a little bit different, but I can't say I liked it better than the original. No. Dominic was mentioning the lack of the distortion unit in there, and so on the original version, they basically put a Boss DS1 distortion into it on the end, and those things sound wretched on guitar. So many people use them, but they sound awful. But it sounds really good on a 303, and I thought it was brilliant. So this unit has some changed features. They've got the what was it called, Robbie? It's I just the muffler.
Yes, the muffler.
It's on the right hand. So they have which is another type of distortion circuit. I think they had increased some of the other gain staging towards the end, like at the VCA, if I recall correctly. I don't exactly remember the detail, but
But
then the other thing is, the sub octave or the sub oscillator is a little, because it's going through a circuit that's already pretty highly gained and it's a bass circuit. Adding a sub is not the most noticeable thing, especially going into all the saturation that it has. And what I thought they probably should have done is made it a thinner pulse wave so that it would cut through a little better. You'd hear the lower octave beneath the already bass, tone pitch, but to have it have that kind of sharp, distinct sound rather than like a fatter, I don't know what it was, square wave probably. So I don't know. The one thing that I did really like about this that they should have done in the original is that you're able to with your DAW, you're able to send signal to automate the filter, which was a really good idea, and that would have been something exceptionally helpful on the original version. So the added CV on there is really great, and that might be worth getting for that reason. Some of the tonal changes, though, I wasn't really that keen on. Functionality, like almost if they could do a third version that had the tone of the original, but the functionality of this would probably be great. Well, minus the muffler circuit, maybe keep that original distortion circuit.
Yeah. Well, again, it's an option. It's an affordable one, and I guess if you're after that sound, as dated as it might be or overused as it might be, then it ticks that box. $199 apparently for that version. I can't remember what the other one was. Quite cheap. It was about I think it topped out about $130. But
yeah, I think it was.
I mean, I bought mine secondhand. I mean, the guy that bought it had it, didn't really like it, sold it to me for £85, which I thought was a bit of a bargain.
Yeah, you can't really argue with that.
It's nice every now and again just to have a.
How would that integrate into a modular setup then? Because you're not going to use it for its sequencer, are you? Let's be honest. It's like it's a notoriously bad sequencer, isn't it? From what I can remember.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the things I try to avoid. I mean, there are some pattern things that you can create patterns on a browser and then send it to. I think you can do it within the synth tool that they call it, the Behringer synth tool. You can actually create your pattern in software, which I find is a lot easier. But as far as connectivity, I mean, you've got filter in, filter FM in, filter CV in. Then you've got accent slide, gate in, CV in, sync in, accent out, gate out, CV out, filter out. Because I'm not a Eurorack guy, I don't really know what any of that does. But further in the demo, I believe. Let me just see if I can find this here. I'm going to have to.
I mean, it would be fun to send CV to it. I can't see much joy sending CV out of it.
There was. I'm just trying to find
a lot of the things that you could do with this.
A quick example. So I've taken the gate out of the TD-3 MO, fed that into our 182 sequencer, and I've then patched that back into it to modulate the cutoff filter.
So he's using the sequencer to modulate the filter cutoff, I think, here.
Rocket as well. Yeah.
And the CV is not your thing.
But there you go. Yeah, I mean, it's you've got options.
Yeah, you can do some of that stuff already with the original version. Like if you want to, do filter modulation, you can do it with other your maths, or you want to use an oscillator to do some FM on it.
Mm-hmm. What do you mean? FM, like it's some sort of throwaway
thing. That? I was like, what's that word that I've been dealing with all week?
Oh, honestly, I mean, you reminded me of last week, and me being cut down by JJ's scything words.
Oh yeah.
Although somebody posted, I'm sorry, I can't remember your name at the moment. But somebody did post a picture of Anne Dudley next to a DX7. It was that was like double filth right there.
Yeah,
and Dudley in a DX7.
When JJ started last week, I'm sure I saw your bottom lip quiver a little bit.
Yeah, literally. Well, the bottom of my world just fell out. There you go. So there you go. That's Behringer's TD-3 MO, which I believe is out now. Whether it's shipping or not, I don't know, but it's about $200. And it's got flashing LEDs that flash in time with the sequencer at the bottom as well, if that makes a difference in your world.
One thing I was going to say is that you're talking about sequencers to run into it or how to adjust the patterns in it, because I have that little unit and I will never sit and program the TD-3 ever. I was using the Roland 303 Cloud app to program it and sequence it, which turned out work better. But I think on the show we had talked about, I don't know, maybe a month ago or so, an iPad app that would do the same thing.
Yes.
And so there's so many options these days that you don't have to really go through that. You can have the best of both worlds, and as was brought up a little bit earlier, like you can have a hardware unit that has a sequencer that's in this giant iPad display, and that's a great thing.
Yeah. I often sit down with a piece of gear and think I'm going to use this as it's supposed to be used, and then 5 minutes in I think I could do this so much easier in Logic. And then I do, and then so I'll sequence the TD3 from Logic. I'll just play the sequence in, and that's it. And then I might just twiddle the knob for the filter. But then you can automate that as well now. So I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, Behringer TD-3 MO is out now. Should that float your boat? Let's now talk to our guest. The reason we brought him here. I wanted to get Simon on because what Simon does is some pretty incredible work through his company Noise Solution, and rather than me tell you what it does, you can go to their website, which is noisesolution.org. It's a company based in Bury St Edmunds, which is in Suffolk, and it works with young people and uses music technology to enable them to be creative. And Simon, tell us a little bit about Noise Solution, how it started, and why you do it.
Do you want the long version or the short version?
Let's go for the middling one. Yeah,
middling version. Okay, so I have a background as a professional musician, right? And I have lots of record contracts and international touring and major festivals and yada 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 yada. Did all that, which enabled me to be emotionally rich, financially awful. So I had to get another job as well while I was doing all that other stuff. Right. And I fell into doing youth work with a youth offending team in East London, and I loved it. It was great. So working with young people in really challenging circumstances. And so I did that for alongside doing the musical stuff. So I was able to balance it so I could go and tour and then come back and then do youth work. It was great, brilliant. But there was lots of stuff about that work that I didn't like as well. It was quite restrictive. So I set up Noise Solution as a social enterprise about 11 years ago now, to take all the stuff that I knew worked about working with young people, and that was essentially creating spaces where they could discover that they could be good at something, right? That worked brilliantly, whereas a lot of those organizations, when they were working with young people, like a professional would come into their lives and go, well, you're rubbish at that and you're not doing that properly, and I'm the expert. Listen to me and we'll fix you and everything will be okay. Like, it doesn't really work. But if you create spaces where they can be good at something, I don't know, maybe music.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter what the thing is, but you create a space where they suddenly discover that they're good at something. That's really impactful and has really interesting social outcomes as well. So I decided to fuse the two things and bring in music to work with young people. And what's developed over the last 10 years is this mentoring program where we get referrals from youth offending or social work teams or schools for kids that they can't engage with, and we pair them with a music producer, and they make whatever the kid's into. Like the kid designs a program around over 20 hours where we mentor them to make drill or grime or drum and bass or trip hop or whatever it is they're into, right?
Yeah.
But while we're doing that, what we've also done is spent and invested a huge amount of time and money basically building our own social media platform that enables the musician and the young person to capture that mentoring journey, all the micro successes, the moments where they put the first beat together, and how they feel about that, and they reflect on it, and you capture that in video, and you capture all those moments within every session where the good stuff happens, and you post it on this feed like you would any other social media feed.
Sure.
And they're able to share that safely with parents, carers, key workers, mental health workers around them. So what you're doing is like making them good at something quickly that they value, that's culturally responsive to whatever their interests are, capturing it, taking it outside of their head so they can see themselves being good at it. The rest of the world's telling me I'm rubbish at everything, but here I am being good at making my drum and bass, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're also enabling them to be seen as successful by the adults that are important to them. And those adults are commenting on it because it looks to them like a social media feed as well. So they comment on it. They see Billy or Jane like making their banging track and go, oh, that's amazing. Like, how did you do that? And so they're seeing these messages. So they're sort of affirming those messages. Do you want to see what it looks like? Would that make more sense? I can very, very, very briefly sort of share. Oh, no, it won't do that. No, it won't do that. No, you have to go and have a look at the website. There's video on the website. You can go and check it out.
Yeah, so let's bring up the website. Here it is. Do you want? Was there a particular video on there that would be shown?
I wouldn't worry about it for now. But I think what's interesting. So that's the practice of what we do. But a lot of this stuff is informed by quite a lot of academic theory. I was really lucky. About 4 years ago, I was invited by Professor Pam Bernard at Cambridge University to go and do a research master's looking at well-being within a digital youth work context. So basically looking at what Noise Vision does. So we're using music technology as a force to create the situations for these young people where everything is really quite seriously wrong. I mean, like really negative trajectories. Kids who are heading towards acute inpatient or prison, mental health services, all this kind of stuff. Taking those kids and giving them an opportunity to discover that they can be good at something, so they can internally change how they're feeling about themselves, but also in a way that allows family and key workers to be involved in that process. So rather than everybody concentrating on what's going wrong in the kid's life. Which is such a common reaction, you create a space where the kids suddenly being successful, and you're modeling them being able to be good at something, which means they recognize they can be good at something else. So we see so we also, within that platform that we've built to do this social media platform, we've also built in the ability to track and analyze NHS well-being metrics. So we measure what the impact is around well-being. So we're really it's quite sophisticated, and we're building in some incredible software applications at the moment around taking a young person's digital feed where there are all these rich video reflections about how they're feeling about the process, taking that, converting that to text, and then sentiment and linguistically analyzing it as well, so we understand if we're doing the right things. We know if you want to impact on well-being, you need to make people experience a sense of autonomy, a sense of competence, feeling like they're good at something, and a sense of relatedness. So we can analyze what we're doing live as they're going through the mentoring process, recognize where it is, and more importantly, where it isn't happening, and then get the platform to react to that by sending video messages to the social worker or the family saying, we think it would be really, really cool if you fed back in this kind of way to this situation, that kind of stuff. So it's kind of like a marriage of drum and bass and linguistic analysis and social media and digital youth work, and all wrapped up in in this platform.
It sounds amazing. I mean, I was looking at these figures here, the before and after impact on participant well-being scores and the comparison. I mean, the fact that you're reducing that low well-being from almost by 50%
by making bleak experiences with kids in studios. But it's not what you do, it's how you do it that's important. We were lent 5 international health data analysts from the private sector to look at what the financial impact of this work is, working with these young people, and they did an 8-month project, massive, really in-depth deep dive as to what the impact was that we were having by making techno or whatever it is we're making with them, and it's a 334% saving for families and services, with 190% of those savings being upfront in the first year at a very, very conservative estimate. So I can think of 4 or 5 kids in the last 2 years where our direct intervention, they and their family would say, we've diverted from acute mental health admission. And every one of those admissions is 80 grand a year at minimum, according to the NHS figures, right? So you don't have to do that very often.
That's crazy.
But as far as the kids are concerned, all we're doing is like a really sort of unthreatening, feckless musicians turning up and saying, "Oh, do you want to make some music?" Yeah, okay, fine. And they make some music and they capture it in this blog, which is kind of fairly normal for them often.
Yeah, it's good.
But the outcomes are astonishing, absolutely transformative.
Yeah,
and the ripples that they have for families as well is quite astonishing.
Yeah. Adamski says in the chat room he'd like some more info. Well, all you need to do, Adamski, is just go to the website and there's loads of stuff there. I'm just going to throw the address up on the screen there. Noisesolution.org. And of course, if you want to, and this is something I've said that I want to talk to you about because I'm really interested. You can actually be a Noise Solution musician, and you're actively looking for musicians, producers, people with a musical background who can have the ability to work with the people that you're getting and helping them create.
If you want to have social outcomes through making music with kids, God, that was at the end of lockdown. Like, I'd eaten too much and I hadn't had a haircut for a long time. That's an awful picture. But yes. If you want to have social outcomes through making music with kids, then absolutely. So I've currently got about 18 musicians delivering across the UK, and we deliver live, but we've also over the last year developed the ability to deliver entirely digitally, which is fascinating. So within the platform, we've built in basically a Chrome-based recording studio. So it's called Soundation.
Yes.
There's a whole bunch of those, but the kid just needs Chrome, right? They just need access to a browser.
Yeah.
So we've built in API'd Zoom into the platform. So and that creates a unique link for that kid that appears in their feed like 10 minutes before their session. It's it's really secure because obviously we're working with vulnerable people. And obviously, if you do want to come and work with us, you will be DBS checked and it will be thorough.
Yeah. Oh, wouldn't expect otherwise.
That's really, really important because we are working with vulnerable young people.
But I would love to look into this further, and I will be speaking with you later. I'm hopefully going to pop around and see the studio. But I had a similar experience when I did a show in Cambridge, and I'd got the Fairlight there, and this young lad came along, and he was just like looking at this thing with wide eyes, and he sat down, and he didn't know whether he could touch it or not, and I said, go ahead, play with it. Have a go with it. And he starts playing, and he's clearly, he's having some lessons. And his mother comes over to talk to me, and she says, "Oh, he loves his music, and he's got a little thing at home." And he was just reveling in this and the creation. And that was a really nice kind of moment. And then there was a young lad who must have been about 14, quite autistic. I don't know, whereabouts on the spectrum, what the correct terms would be, but he was very. He didn't communicate much and very withdrawn, and his parents brought him to this computer history museum in Cambridge. I don't know if you're aware of the place. And Jason, who runs the place, saw this kid's eyes light up with technology in front of him. He was clearly, the connection was there. Starts talking to him and starts actually getting some feedback, and turns out he likes a bit of music. He liked to make music. So Jason dug out an Akai S1000 and an Atari ST, and an Atari ST, and put Cubase, or a version of Cubase on there. Sat him down and said, "Right, this is this is what you do here. This is what you do that." And this kid just got it straight away, and he was coming back week after week to this setup. And Jason said, "Do you know what? Have the gear." And I was speaking to his parents, and he said the difference. By giving this young person that creative outlet was just incredible, and it was a really powerful thing.
So we see that week in, week out, but we also capture it as well. Yeah. So you see kids come initially, and they're like, "Oh, I don't really want to do this. Don't want to make eye contact." And by the end of it, just like, check me out, check what I've made.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, it's amazing, but genuinely transformative. And we do. Yeah, we have a lot of neurodiverse young people that we work with. Yeah, that's very, very common. But it's joyful. Like, it's genuinely joyful when you see them understand that they can create. That moment when you understand that it's kind of not like the music you do at school.
Yeah.
And that's a whole other conversation that I could have at length about the issues that we have with that. Because we don't do any notation, we don't do any scales or anything. But one of the things we do, which I think is quite interesting, is we have a shapes-based method for teaching the piano that teaches 48 chords using simple shapes. You've got to remember 3 things. Teaches 48 chords, 25 minutes, half an hour. That's it. And they're up and running, and they're playing and making chords. And then if they can make chords, they can do arpeggios, and with filthy wobbly bass sounds or whatever it might be. And you just throw a drum loop over that, and you record it. And the moment they recognise that, this thing that society perceives as being really complicated that only clever kids do. And they go, I can actually do this, and then you record their reflection to that, and how they feel about that, and then you share that with the youth offending worker who hasn't been able to engage the kid for 2 years, and you go, you taught me to play the piano in half an hour. How the hell did you do that? It makes them think about the kid differently. What is that kid capable of? But then, so if we approach it maybe in a different way, maybe we could get somewhere else. It's interesting.
Just to Chris. Poke in there a little bit. One of the things that I have found so interesting about this, and I did a lot of work with kids junior high and high school age, and then into 20s with band, not school band stuff, more like rock pop band type stuff and training, that kind of thing. And one thing that I found that was so clever with this is that you chose to do this whole other method of you've got the loop cloud going, and you're teaching them in a simple way how to use keys, but they're putting songs together right away. And I was wondering if you could talk about that a little bit more. What set you upon such a good path? Because if you look at results, like, how do you get a child to not be discouraged? Because if you sit them down with a guitar, it's going to take forever for them to learn, and there'll be some setbacks. And if they're coming from a good household, maybe they'll be able to push through it because of the parents. But with kids that need some help, that's often not the case. So you've got a system that produces not just the emotional and the healthy mental perspectives, but it's accomplished through quick musical product. I don't know if that is...
Yeah, I think the key word is fun. And kind of replicating my own experiences, right? So when I couldn't get on with reading music. I got an E for GCSE music. I was deemed a failure. I was allowed in the music block at lunchtime to play drums with my mates. That was about it. But I think what came out of that experience was that the fun bit is knocking around with your mates and trying stuff but having fun doing it, right? So a lot of this, and that was my experience in terms of music technology as well. I taught myself, but in the using a lot of chat rooms as well and connecting with people that way. And so when I started working with kids, having done the youth work stuff, where they wouldn't let us do something like music technology because it was not about the problems. And they would just think I was just on a jolly trying to get them to pay for me to get some gear or whatever. So when I started, but I knew it would work. I knew there were kids that I was working with, kids who were coming out of prison who were I'd chat about music with, and they were really into it, but I couldn't do anything about it. It was really restrictive. So that's kind of one of the things that led me to set it up. There's one particular kid there's always one kid, isn't there? One particular kid that you meet, you think, I'm going to actually do something about this. But what kind of developed was just finding shortcuts, because I'm a bit lazy, essentially. And the shortcuts were around, using technology or finding this shortcut to teaching the piano. And it just became clearer and clearer that was the way to engage a lot of these kids, because you've got to grab them quick, otherwise you're going to lose them. Because a lot of them are quite traumatized as well, and and a lot of their default reactions to difficult situations where they're feeling under pressure are not great. So you need to grab them quickly. So it was about finding quick wins, essentially. And then what became clearer through doing the academic research was what those quick wins are doing are actually exposing them to feeling a sense of competence. I can be good at this, and how important that is. It's so important. But then the ability to capture it and share it, that's quite unusual, and I don't see that anywhere else in any other kind of youth provision, if I'm honest.
Is there, I mean, in your experience seeing this, so there are great teachers and there are awful teachers in any sort of institution, right?
Yep.
And so we would say the same thing about school band directors. School bands at times can really engage kids. I'm not sure they would see the kind of results that you're getting, but is there kind of a pushback in that things have to be done the old way? They have to learn music notation, they have to learn classical stuff, rather than jumping them into something that's current and modern?
It's interesting. I think when I see, because I do quite a lot of connection with American programs as well, and other academics doing similar stuff. The American school system seems to be very, very rigid around music and band. And I think that thing you talked about good teachers and bad teachers is really interesting. There's a psychological term called epistemic trust, which is basically a really, really poncy way of describing that teacher who was good, who made eye contact with you, told you were good at something, and poof, that sent you off on a trajectory because you internalized that. You felt seen, and you felt like that person believed in you. Those are really significant moments that we all have. We all have that adult, whether it was the drama teacher or the art teacher or the music teacher or whoever it might be. And I think that's what we're trying to do, is to kind of hothouse that feeling. We engage with this kid in this non-threatening way because we're just a musician, and we make them feel good at something quickly, and we make them feel seen. So it's the same process. Whereas if you look at all of the other flip side of that is bad teachers, right? If you look at all of the academic evidence around clinical mental health work, around mentoring, around education, the number one indicator of success in all of the research across all of those areas is the relationship you have with the person you're working with.
Yeah.
If that relationship is poor, it doesn't matter how good your model is, it's not going to work. It just won't work. Like, we've all had those teachers who we didn't feel liked by. It's like, well, why am I going to bother?
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned the chord thing, and that was something you did a couple of years, or probably a bit longer than that now. You kind of released it as an online course that you could learn 40 odd chords in 3 minutes. Yeah. So is that what you're doing? You've taken that and you've now incorporated this in. And can you still get that course if you know?
Yeah, it's on Udemy. Yeah, if you want to go and have a look.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
I can't remember what I call it. I can't remember what I called it.
I'll dig it out. I'll throw the links in the chat.
Piano chords. Learn hundreds in minutes or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. But it was like such an obvious thing. Yeah.
Learn hundreds in a day using a shapes method. There you go.
Yeah.
On Udemy.
It was very clever. Very clever. Yeah, well worth checking out. So, in terms of the, I hate to kind of come away from the actual impact that you're having, which is amazing, and congratulations on all of that. So you've got all that technology there behind you. What do you use with the kids when you're doing the stuff? So you mentioned this Chrome-based browser, but do you actually use any hardware? Do you kind of go through?
So we've got so what tends to happen is we tend to go to them initially in the home, because often there are issues around engagement, right? They're referred to us because they're not engaging, so they're not going to come somewhere. So we tend to go to them, and that involves a backpack with a laptop, a MIDI keyboard, and a couple of speakers.
Okay.
Right. And historically, we've been using Reaper to sort of throw stuff together.
Sure.
Because
it's easy to get hold of?
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So exactly that. But we've just got a deal from Ableton where they're providing us with licenses as well.
Fantastic.
So we can do that as well. But it really depends. If they're already doing something in GarageBand, then we'll use that. It's whatever works for that kid. It's very much about not coming to them with any necessarily plan about what you're going to do. It's reacting to what they're interested in, and what they want to do. So we'll do that, and then we do that for about 10 hours over 5 weeks. And then we'll move them to a recording studio local to them.
Okay.
So like a proper studio, commercial studio, if we can. Because that thing where they walk in and they see the gear and they go, oh my God, that looks amazing. Like, you're taking me seriously. This isn't some crap damp Nissan hut in the back of the school field. Like, you're actually taking me to a recording studio. that's significant. Like the process of sticking a mic in their face if they're into spitting or whatever, it's just like, oh wow, like this is proper.
Yeah.
And capturing that and sharing that again with family and friends is quite significant, and it's great. It's such a win-win because like there are all these studios. This is pre-COVID, and we're starting to get back into it. All these studios that are empty during the day, and we like rock up and saying, "Well, do you want to help us out, have some social impact with some kids? It's like 20 quid an hour. We'll use your dead time." Yeah. Brilliant, fantastic,
win-win.
Yeah. So we've got studios across that we use in Cambridge, Norwich, Norfolk. Starting down into London, Essex, across the bump, essentially. But now we're starting to do stuff nationally as well, and talks about international stuff as well, which is kind of fascinating. So yeah, I mean, the sky's the limit, really.
Yeah, it's just amazing.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah, it is.
Got any questions, Ben?
Well, not really questions, but I totally understand where you're coming from, because I used to work in a local college, and my job was working with the disadvantaged kids, and I've seen all this connecting with kids that have never engaged with anything, and then suddenly they're buzzing off what's going on, and they genuinely got an interest in it. I think it's the way that you've put it all together, and I love the studio touch. That going in the studio, that was the bit that was missing from ours, because we, it was in a college, and these kids got the raw deal. They got me to teach them for the start, and they're getting shoved in corridors with no gear in it at all. All the rooms are taken up. You can teach I think they were called vet kids back at that time. You can teach the vet kids in that corridor. It's like, what are we going to do in a corridor? I could talk about like theory of music technology for an hour, but they're gonna be smashing the place up.
Going to lose them.
10 minutes in, if that. So I just love what you're doing. I just think it's absolutely brilliant, and I can totally relate to it because I've been there myself, and
it just works.
Yeah,
it's fun. It's a win-win.
Yeah, definitely.
Because I can totally relate to that moment. When you said the teacher. I can't remember the word you used.
Epistemic trust. Epistemia is Greek for systems. So somebody you trust to give you knowledge about the world that you exist in.
Yeah, I was dead lucky that I had two music teachers in my high school years that both saw that there was something bubbling under the surface, that if they said, here you go, you've got exclusive use of the drum kit in the rehearsal room every lunchtime whenever you want, you've got that permission to do that. And it was just like, wow, they think I can do this.
Well, so your kid that you were talking about earlier with at the computing museum in Cambridge.
Exactly. You tell them, I think I believe in you. I believe that you can do this, and then that just reinforces it, and then you're off. And that certainly was that was for me. It did work. I'm just picking up your Udemy course because people have been asking for it in.
It's probably it'd be cheaper for everybody if they go to Skillshare.
Okay.
And then I think it's because they can probably do a trial.
You tell me that now, and I've just got the Udemy page. I've been searching for it.
I'm fine if you want to. That's fine. I'm all right. I'm easy.
Let me just find. I'll find the link. So where is it? Here, piano chords. Learn hundreds in a day using my shapes method. Here it is on Udemy or whatever you want to call it. There you go. Piano chords. Learn hundreds. There you go. $21.99, 74% off at the moment. 5 hours left at this price, which is a bit of a bargain. So I'll throw the link up to that in there, and we'll post links to this in the Facebook group and on Twitter and all of our accounts later on. So you mentioned about Ableton giving you some licenses. Do you are you still active? Are you getting support from other manufacturers? Because it would be great if people.
Not really. No. I was just on the link. Somebody was talking about the Behringer synth. Thing recently. Who's the American guy who posted that video?
Ben Jordan.
Ben Jordan. Yeah. I thought I like his stuff.
He's very good.
But that's obviously. I'm sure they were genuine and they were going to follow through, but then they followed through. So I thought that was interesting. And I think what we do have is a deal with Reverb.
Okay, yeah.
And that's actually much more useful. So what they've given us is like, I think over the last 2 years, like $3,000 in Reverb credits.
Oh, wow.
So we work with the kid, find out what they actually need.
Mm-hmm.
And then if the manufacturer needs, if whoever it is we're buying from accepts the Reverb credits, we can just buy it and send it to the kid, like whether it's a keyboard or a microphone or an interface. And that's been absolutely amazing.
That's very good.
Loop Cloud give us access to the musicians. Loop Cloud's amazing.
Yes, I hear.
So cool. So a kid comes to us and says, I'm really into minimalist East Coast crunk. Great. I'm like, what's that? You go to Loop Cloud and somebody's produced the pack, and they're automatic, and they're already sort of pulling it in, and it's syncing the cloud-based element of the samples that you're finding are syncing with your project in Ableton or Reaper or whatever, so you can get it to work. It's brilliant, really, really cool. So that's really, really useful.
That's good.
And we have another thing that we use called Rotor as well, which is like a cloud-based tool for making music videos essentially, and that's also awesome. So the kid makes their track. And then we can upload to this Rotor program, which is a commercial program that lots of record companies use to produce quick visuals for tracks.
Right.
And then it analyzes it for BPM and cuts and applies filters, and it has loads and loads of clips. It's like Loop Cloud, but for visuals.
Okay.
And then you just throw this clip and that clip and this clip at it, and it you hit a button and it pushes it all together, and grades it and does all that kind of stuff and adds the filters. So you create these amazing visuals for these tracks that these kids have created, and that adds to that whole sense of competence when you project that onto the parents, like, oh, you made this in an hour? How did you do that? Amazing. Super cool. So the tools are out there.
Yeah, absolutely. That's just fascinating stuff. And the comments that are filtering through in the chat room, there's so many people just saying what a wonderful thing it is that you're doing, and they're really excited about it, and lots of people asking for links. So we will share those in all the places, and we'll reshare the show as well around. So hopefully we'll get the message out there a little bit wider. Simon, thanks ever so much for that. Really informative and inspiring, I think, is the word that I'm looking for. Description definitely. Of what you do, really.
But essentially, we make bleepy noises with kids.
You make bleepy noises for kids.
That's basically what we do.
Fantastic. So we've got about 15 minutes or so left. There are a few other little news topics that came out during the week. Let's have a look at a few of them. This one was really did interest me. So let me just make sure I get the right tab here. So many years ago, I was at a synth. Not a synth, it was a music trade show at Olympia 2 in London, back in the day when we could go to trade shows and stuff like that. And me and Steve Howell were walking around just having a look at stuff, and we came across a booth by Creamware, which were a German company, I remember at the time. And they produced these pieces of hardware that were full of DSP, running basically software synthesizers, but with a really lovely hardware control surface. And they did a Prophet, they did an Odyssey, I think they did a Moog as well. There was a few of these, and you could even bolt them together, a bit like people are bolting together these Behringer modules, in these kind of little stacks. And it was just like super powerful, and then they just vanished off the face of the planet. And I had no idea this was a thing until the other day. So MakeProMusic are now kind of the owners of that tech, and some while ago they released a box that just essentially did the same as what these units were doing 15 years or so ago, but with software interfaces instead. So the DSP was still there in the box, it was doing that stuff, but you had a visual interface. And now they've produced it as a Eurorack module, the DinoPark, which is a very odd name for a thing that does synthesizers. But basically this contains 7 synthesizer models, I guess, within this DSP based unit. and those include there's a drums and bass synthesizer model. I noticed that they put drums, not drum and bass, so I guess this is more about drums and bass rather than drum and bass. There's the Minimax, which is obviously a mini Moog. I think there's a Prophet 5 in there. There's the Odyssey. And there's a few other things in there. But what an amazing kind of piece of hardware that you can just use this and sync it up to your laptop. I don't know if there's an iOS version of this, but you have the software there. But then you can incorporate it into your Eurorack modular system. And I'm so impressed that it's around and it's back again, using this creamware technology, but I just think, does it have the staying power? Because it clearly didn't in the past. Do people want a box that you can only put 7 instruments in, or maybe you can put some more in, but there are only 7 at the moment? Is this different to using a computer with software synthesizers? I don't know. Who wants to have a go at this one?
Well, so I could just jump in a sec with there was another stage in this story as well, which was the Plugiator, which
yes, yeah,
the Plugiator was just a desktop unit with I think it might have come with like two of the software synths built in,
right.
But you could add them all, and I had one and I added them all. But it felt like you were buying into something that was on its way out at the time. Like you go onto the website to download your latest synth edition to your Plugiator, and the website wouldn't work, and it'd partially download, and it'd mess up your Plugiator, and you had reset the whole thing. It was problematic, and I ended up getting rid of it for those reasons. Really, it was just frustrating, but. I can see why now, because it was going. It didn't survive much longer after I got rid of it, and it's nice to see the tech coming back. And I remember it sounding really, really good.
Yes.
I wasn't using it much because it's like that in between. It's in between soft synths and hardware, and I was either using one or the other. I didn't really need something in between. A soft synth was being used for a particular set of reasons, and a hardware synth for the others. And in the creamware boxes where you had all the full control interface, I got it a bit more. But the Plugiator version only had the Matrix kind of control system that you get on the Cogs. Do them quite a bit, and Waldorf, where you have like a selection of knobs and then a selector which parameters you control, and it's quite a good way of working, but it wasn't really giving me any more than I was getting from a soft synth. I tried to use it live for a bit, but I don't know. But I think it does deserve a decent outing, and bringing it back in the Eurorack format, it is probably a good move. I just hope that the company that's taking it over will do regular updates to the software, and ensure that everything's as good as it can be, because I think it was like getting forgotten about.
But as Simon was alluding to when we spoke about the 2600 VCO, and bang for buck in terms of HP space that takes up, this has got to be the complete opposite, because you're getting 7 synthesizers in, I don't know what that is, maybe that's probably 8 HP. I don't know what the size is there.
No, much bigger
than that.
Yeah,
is it? I don't know. Yeah, so
20 or 30.
Oh right, okay. But you're still getting 7 synthesizers in there, and you can add so much in there, and then you've got all the connectivity. You've got all the stuff down the right there, and then the audio and the MIDI and USB connectivity, and I mean. I kind of like the idea, but as where is it? Sasquatch says in the chat room, Roland did something similar recently. In recent years with their plug-outs, where you could have a software version, then send it into a select piece, a few pieces of hardware that you could then take out and use, either live or in the studio. But I'm just not entirely convinced that this way of doing synthesis is viable these days, given that you can just get a piece of software and run it in your computer, and connect it up pretty much any way you want to. I don't know. Simon, you were going to say something.
I think the interesting thing about this is that it's polyphonic, right?
Yeah.
Within a Eurorack setup, which is not that usual. So that's interesting. I recently sold I got a Disting EX, which is brilliant. I thought it was fantastic. But I again, that thing about menu diving, I just kind of got fed up with it. But even up to like last month, he's adding wavetable synths and all these other synths to it. But it was just too fiddly for me, so I kind of ditched it and used it to buy something else. But it's so I like it, and I think there will be people who will love it because of that polyphonic thing, and for that it would be brilliant. But yeah, not for me.
No. Cryss, you were the one that brought this to my attention.
Yeah. I think it comes down to what kind of setup do you like to run to make music. And, as you pointed out, there's, instead of having a full synthesizer where you have, 2 VCO modules, you have a mixer, you have a filter, you have your modulator, all that, and you got this big thing in a Eurorack that's a complete single voice thing. Here you have something in whatever 26 HP or something that has all that stuff in there. And so for someone like me that blends synthesizers with traditional guitars and things like that, and that works in a DAW, unless I'm playing live, then I'm just all guitars. This wouldn't be for me, but I think it would definitely be used. If I think of other people that, again, are more into modular stuff, some guys on YouTube like Inverted Popes or State Azure, who do these complex songs, but they've got this mix of tabletop, desktop synthesizers, sequencers, Eurorack, everything all together. And they're making songs. Something like this could be really fun, especially, as noted, it's polyphonic. So you could get, this could be something that would be very useful. And again, if you're making primarily modular music, putting something like this in your rack, that even if you're playing it from a little key step and you've got your drums and your sequenced bass and stuff going on, this could be something that would really open things up for you. For another type of setup, if you're polysynth DAW user, it's not going to do it for you. But it is interesting. I think for the type of players that are more like that or more like me, well then the roll and plug out system makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
But that said, I mean, how fantastic is that we have both of these options? And
again, yeah.
You said they went away. It was. I don't know how many years ago that was that these were out. Was about, did you say
I would say between 15 and 20 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, so think about where processing power was, 15, 20 years ago. My phone has more processing power than my laptop that I bought in 2003. I remember I was so excited about getting this MacBook. It was my first Mac, and my phone blows it away. Yeah. So the possibilities with this stuff just end up being so much more dynamic now. So yeah.
I mean, the more I think about it, the more I think actually this is probably a really good idea for if you're in the Euro. Well, this is the supposed I call it the desktop version, which is a box with some USB connections and MIDI connections at the back and some of the rotaries on the top, and it's essentially the same thing but in a little box. But what I'm just kind of thinking, it doesn't make sense for somebody, say, like me or maybe like Ben, who goes out gigging. If we're using something with a software interface, then it's likely to be a plug-in. And if I'm going to be going out on the road, I'm probably going to be taking a laptop with me. So just having the soft synth on the desktop and on the laptop is fine. Do I need this box? I mean, it doesn't say whether it holds any more than the 7 models that they've got in there. It says it ships loaded with 7 Major League synthesizer models, but it doesn't say how many models it could potentially have, because obviously there has to be a limit because of the hardware. Or maybe you can swap some in and out. I don't really know how it works, but I think it does make more sense when you think about it. And as you guys have been explaining, if you're in the Eurorack world, and maybe that's what's driven them to do that. So,
what's the price comparison with the Arturia collection?
Let's have a look here. So let's go to the shop. I should have done this, if I was professional. I would. You could actually buy this as a kit for $399, or the EX version for $469, which comes with a whole bunch of extra ins and outs at the back. But the basic desktop module is $399 and $469. The Eurorack module is. And wait for this to come up. And this is where the website just craps out on me, and it just says something in German which I can't understand, so I'm going to translate it. It says no products were found. So I don't know. Cryss, did you?
Let me look it up, because I'm going to check Synth Anatomy.
Tom
so our buddy
there.
Tom is awesome, and he gets these articles out in amazing time.
Yeah.
Let's see here. I don't see it on here, so they it'll be available in July.
Yeah, so
there's no option to pre-order from the website or retailer, and price is still missing. So even he notes it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
it looks like So we'll probably find out.
It's going to probably be more expensive, I would guess.
Damn.
Well, or at least the same.
At least the same as the EX. I don't think it would be as cheap as the smaller version.
Well, and then you're comparing it to something like Arturia, where you're getting, I can't remember how many synths, 20 odd. 35. Yeah, crazy.
I think we're finally to the point where we'll see a lot more of these hardware software integrations, where been seeing it in the guitar world with amp modeling coming to small and smaller units, and with synthesizers too. Maybe we'll see some new formats like this kind of come out of this. It'll be interesting. I mean, the next 5 years are going to be just incredibly fascinating to see what technology brings us, and not necessarily revolutionary new technology, but the lowering of costs and the increasing of power will open a lot of things up for us. Yeah, for sure. Well, there you go. That's the DinoPark Eurorack, available later this month, I guess. DinoPark.MakeProMusic.com. Just Google DinoPark and you'll find it. So what else have we got that we can squeeze in? Because we've only got a few minutes left. We've got a choice here, guys. We've got either the Abyss visual synthesizer from Traktion, or we've got Tritik Flow effects, which we've had lots of effects before, so I'm kind of leaning towards
I like the effects.
Okay.
You like the Abyss? All right, Cryss, what would you prefer, or should we stuff it? Let's do both. If we've got a few minutes, why not do that? All right, we'll leave the effects till last. This is from Traktion, who gave us the FM synthesizer recently. They've got this Abyss visual synthesizer with character and a bit of fairy dust. It brings to you dark, vibrating drones, vivid cinematic pads, and rich, evolving textures. So the blurb tells me, and this is what it looks like. It's currently on sale now for $77 or thereabouts. There's a 90-day free trial, which is very generous, I must say. And it's this very flat design. There's I think since Pigments came out, a lot of soft synth manufacturers have gone for this kind of very colourful, simple kind of graphic design. I haven't heard much about this, so who would like to start us off on this one?
Well, I've looked into it a bit. I haven't actually got it, but I'm thinking about getting it because I just think it's just so original. I'll probably be proven wrong and somebody's done it before, but to me, the whole using colour for sound makes loads of sense. I'm like, my day job is doing like graphic design and stuff, so for me this is the perfect marriage of two creative outlets. You start off, there's like this floating around screen of little dots, and you can pick an element to start based on.
Oh, sorry about that. Sorry.
So based on colour. So like you know, different colours have a different tonal quality, but then you can create a gradient that goes from one colour tone to another, and that sonically obviously makes a difference as well. And you can modulate that and everything. It just makes loads of sense to me, and I'd actually like to see it taken a step further, where there's, you know, it's combined with like drawing waves, and you know, because it's got this like really unusual, inventive way of making sound, and then like things like your envelopes and your LFOs and that are just traditional. But wouldn't it be great if you could, you know, I can see how like colour works with filters and stuff, but maybe, you know, like vertical lines and stuff for your envelopes, or just making it totally visual. It'd help a lot of people. Like,
and how cool would it if you took that a step further and then did that within a VR environment where you're sort of engaging with the colours?
I just think it's like the start of something that could be huge.
Let's have a quick listen to it.
We've got the technology now to do it.
Yeah.
We can merge the two things quite easily.
Let's have a quick listen. And there we go. That sounds quite impressive, I think.
Yeah, is the link to the overview video there, because you've got to hear the guy's voice who presents the overview.
All right.
He's just a class act. You just got to watch it for him if he's on there.
Something's gone
is it
awry.
though? Is it not just? Is it not? Am I confused though? Is it not just using colours as an interface with which to choose two presets to morph between?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, it is, but you can have just like a direct like morphing from one to the other, or you can modulate that with an LFO, and
right, okay.
it's quite creative if you use it right, I think.
Let's go on. This better be worth it.
It is.
Hi and welcome. I'm Peter Wee, the creator of the Abyss synthesizer plugin that you hear me noodling on in the background. Today we are going to have a quick introduction into this plugin and how to get the most out of it.
So what was different about his? I mean, he's French.
It's just relaxing. You can sit.
Yeah, it's a nice.
If it doesn't come with its own jellyfish, I'm not.
Yeah, or pulsating irises. Yeah, no, I kind of like this. It seems like a very simple interface, but with a lot of power kind of sitting underneath it. What do you think, Chris?
It's beautiful. I mean, look at the GUI. I love color, and so to have something that's so visually pleasing, and with such a flat interface, you know, the design and where things are, you know, it's nice to use versus some of the skeuomorphic plugins that kind of, you know, for whatever reason they're too much trying to model hardware and it doesn't work with your on-screen flow. So something like this, I love that. Traktion is a company that wasn't really on my radar until we covered their new FM synth, which is called FM. And this is how much you know, what do they say about the friends you keep? And you know, I this is my week. I bought FM. Mm-hmm. I got my Kodomo Essence FM, and wait for it, I've got vintage Yamaha hardware synthesizers here.
Look at that. With the play card system as well. They were cool. You could put the little cartridges in, yeah.
Yeah, well, what's going to happen to me next?
I'm sorry, I'm such a bad influence. Yeah,
You're
well, you know.
Influence.
Yeah, well, if you want to buy one, we've got some. Just saying.
Yeah, one thing about the Traktion stuff that, again, I only have one of the, I don't have the Abyss, I just have the FM, but the user interface for the synthesizer just seems like very well thought out and beautiful to look at, and that makes for a really good experience for me. I'm not somebody that's afraid to get into the box and use stuff in there, and I love my hardware. I mean, that's what I grew up on, guitar hardware, vacuum tube amps. But when I sit down at a DAW, I don't have any problem using software synthesizers or drum machines or anything like that. But I do want it to be an interesting experience. And so I think, as Ben was talking about, that it's not remaking synthesis or anything. It's pretty standard stuff, what they're doing. But to do it in a clever way, and their interface, I don't know if we saw a picture of it, but the kind of color grid, not just the morphine slider thing, but the actual color grid looks a lot like Excellen's XO and Atlas. What's the company name? But the Atlas, both XO and Atlas do drum stuff kind of that way. Not the combination. Yeah, that's it. But it has a very similar feel to that, where you're kind of looking through sounds in a visual, colorful way. And I like it. I think it's interesting.
UVI do something very similar with the Spark Reverb plugin, and it's a similar sort of, it's kind of a graphical display where different colors mean different types of reverb. So stuff that's very shimmery, echoey, or stuff that's very roomy reverb, and you can kind of pick one and then move it towards something if you want. So it's visual rather than just numbers on dials and stuff. Yeah. Simon, we spoke about this briefly the other day, and you said it reminded you of another program, but you couldn't remember the name. You didn't think of it, did you?
It was like a really, really early VST. And I think it was called Chrysalis or Chameleon or something. It was a freeware. Right. And it was the first time I'd come across that concept of morphing between presets. And you could just keep pressing and it would keep morphing, and it was random, and it was super cool. Super cool. So yeah, it just reminded me of that.
Yeah.
I can't for the life of me remember what it is.
No. But does this interest you?
Yes and no. I mean, I've got a lot of software.
Yeah,
like, a lot of which that I don't even scratch the surface of, and I had a really sort of I got, when I first got into DAW production and stuff, I got obsessed with collecting as much software as possible.
Yeah,
and then I realised that was really like counterproductive, because I spent all my time evaluating software rather than actually making any music. And then got to a point where I challenged myself just to actually use as little as possible to be more creative. And it became very, very clear that if you restricted and gave yourself rules and parameters to work within, that you were probably going to be more creative than you were if you had endless undo and endless choices to make. So, and then I got into Eurorack.
That's it. Go on.
Whole thing went out the window.
Lost
so yeah, I mean, it's cool. It's interesting. I would love to sit around and play with it. Am I going to get it? Probably not.
Yeah. Well, there you go. That is Traktion's Abyss, available now. $77 currently on offer, and it's available at Traktion.com. So just going there. And I think it's great to see Traktion, the name Traktion, back kind of at the forefront, because it had a little moment in the limelight. It was a different kind of DAW, and now they're doing they're spreading their wings and doing other things. So it's really good to see. And if these two, Abyss and FM or FM or however you want to pronounce it, are anything to go by, they're on to some winners. And actually, Simon, you talking about this old piece of software, it made me remember this site. Let me just find it. I'm just going to flash this up here for everyone to see. He says, I've just lost my screen. Are you going to come back? There we go. So let's add this to the stream. So sorry, there we go. The VST Museum.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and you can search via manufacturer or lots of different things in there. There's and it takes you and shows you pictures of it and links to stuff if that stuff's still going. So if you're in the market for a VST Nostalgia Fest, sound fonts in there as well, and look at all that lot. I mean, there's just so much going on. So click into that and you'll get lost. VSTmuseum.com.
Like it.
Blind him. So if you're into that kind of thing, go for it. Right, let's do this last one.
I'm getting bat signals that I need to go for a curry.
Okay, right.
From the real world.
From the real world, right? Okay.
No.
Very quickly then. Very quickly, let's just talk about Tritik.
Flow?
Yeah, Tritik Flow, Tritik. Just find the page now. See, now I'm flustered. I want to get this through. Let's do this. Right. You've made me hungry now. I could do with a curry, but I'm on a diet. Right. So this is the end of the video. Let's try this again. This is Floor from Tritik. We're seeing a lot of these plugins that are doing things like destroying sounds and degrading them, just like we used to have before we had plugins and music technology. But I have to say, this is a nice little demo, and it sounds really nice. Thoughts on this one, guys?
I love imperfection and stuff breaking. I've just bought the Qubit Data Bender, which is basically a module for doing just that. So it'll act as a wobbly, warpy tape wobble, or it'll digitally sound like a skipping CD or whatever, and you can receive each. It's brilliant. I love it. And this sounded really, really nice to me. Yeah, I don't like perfection at all. And yeah, it just instantly made what I was hearing sound. Yeah. I liked it. Of all the things I've seen tonight, of all of them, that's the one.
That was, and we left that one to last, and we're having to rush through because you've got carry going on. Chris, I know you like this kind of stuff.
Yeah. I kind of have a love-hate with these kind of plugins, but Tritik is. I've got some of their other plugins, and they've been so good that I bought this just on reputation alone, and the price was really cheap. So interface is beautiful. Oh, it's like, is it like 19 euros or something?
Yeah, it's very cheap at the moment. Yeah,
it was something ridiculous. So I was like, I'll get and check it out, because I've got a number of cassette ones, and the Aberrant DSP was it Sketch Cassette 2?
Yes,
is the one that I usually use, and that one is really good and very versatile. Most of them are not so versatile. They kind of like, it's either like full on or not. But that and this, and I think this one will probably be used a lot as well. And what I found it very useful for during the week is, even as I was going through patches on the Essence FM, there's some great patches on there, and there's some that are kind of, you always come across something that's just not your taste on any synthesizer. And so there were a couple that were a little bit flat sounding, and I turned that on just because I'm thinking, like, this is exact perfection. FM synthesis, and there's a patch that doesn't have enough modulation going on, and then running it through there, and it just it created that life and that sound, and it was quite good. And so this gives you some vibrato, or if you mess with the mix, you can get kind of chorusing and flanging type sounds. It's got the noise and the kind of tape and vinyl simulation, a drive control, and I don't know if I said reverb or not already, but it gives you a little toolbox to work with. And I mean, I'm not going to use this for reverb over my favorite reverbs, but using it all together in this one package and creating some presets for yourself, I think it's going to get a lot of use from me. It already has so far.
Ben, very quickly, any thoughts on this? Is something you'd like to play with?
Well, we reviewed one a couple of weeks ago, didn't we? A tape.
Yeah.
Tape destruction thing.
Yeah.
And I got that. It was. I think that one was free. And that does pretty much what I want. But I do think this one sounds quite nice though. And I don't know how much I'd use it. It's like I will use it, but it's not something I'll use all the time. So
sure.
Right.
I'm probably okay with the free one myself, but it sounds great. It sounds good. Great.
Oh,
yeah.
There you go. So it's Tritik Flow, and you can go to tritik.com and find it over there. And so it's on offer at about $19, €19. Anyway, that's everything that we've gone through everything. I don't want to hold Simon up from his dinner any longer. So once again, Simon, thank you ever so much for coming along. It's been an absolute pleasure. What you do is amazing. It's inspiring. Yes. We are going to be sharing the absolute out of all of your links on the pages and our media channels. So if anybody wants that information before we share it, just drop us a line and we will let you have it. Very quickly, just to let you know, next week and the week after, you won't have to deal with me. I'm having kind of like 2 weeks off. Shut up. I'm going. So Record Store Day Part 2. So next week I'm going to be queuing up outside Vinyl Hunter in Bury St Edmunds once more to buy a whole stack of vinyl. Looking forward to that. And then the week after I'm going to see China Crisis at the John Peel Centre. Yeah. So I'm very much looking forward to that. And both of those are happening on Friday. So I won't be here. So who will be here? We'll have our guest host for both of those shows. Will be the wonderful Dominic Hawken. So please do join us for that, and Dominic will be wrangling these guys into shape. But no special guest next week, other than Dominic, of course, he was special. But on the 23rd of July, we've got Jim Danica coming in as a guest, and Dominic's going to be hosting there. The July 30th, so the day after my birthday, hint, hint, we've got Mark Doty coming in as our guest. August is filling up very nicely. David Bessel on the 6th from modular supergroup Node and other things. Mark Reeder on the 13th. Mel Wesson on the 27th, also of Node, but also works with Hans Zimmer. So that's going to be really fun. Mick McNeil from Simple Minds in September, along with Axel Hartman. But very quickly, need to announce this. We are going to have a brand new regular guest, sort of participant. Once a month, we are going to be joined, based on the back of his success on his previous appearance. The one and only Mr. Kent Spong is going to be making a monthly appearance on the ProSynth Network every third Friday of the month, and we're going to have some special stuff. So if you are entertained by Kent's last appearance, then please do come every third Friday in the month, starting in August. So really, really looking forward to that one. So that's who we've got coming up. Simon, once again, thank you ever so much for joining us. We're going to let you go and get your beer and your curry. Enjoy that. Where do you get your curries from in Bury?
Orissa.
Oh, yeah, very nice.
The only choice.
Yeah, absolutely. Very nice indeed. Little plug there. Just tell them we did that and maybe they'll give you a free curry. Christopher, Ben, thank you ever so much again for joining us. I hope you have a great week.
Lovely to meet you guys.
Great weekend. Yeah, and you.
Likewise.
And I will give you a call because I'm going to come and see you sometime at the end of this month maybe, and see if we can sort something out. Brilliant. To everyone in the chat room, thank you again for your continued support and patronage. It is greatly appreciated. Thanks for all the messages. There's lots of stuff coming through about Kent, which is fantastic. We will see you all the same time, same place next week. This has been the ProSynth Network live show. Good night, everyone.
It's